Welcome to the Smart Weight Loss Coaching Podcast. I'm Dr. Lisa Olson, a board-certified weight loss medicine specialist and certified life coach. In this podcast, I'll share fresh insights and effective techniques for incorporating mindset, habit change, and proven science into your life. Are you ready to achieve sustainable weight loss, wellness, and longevity? Then let's jump in and lose weight the smart way. Welcome back. I thought about calling today's episode Why I Don't Give You a Weekly Menu to Follow and why that's actually better for your weight loss. But instead, I'll just tell you about what I said when this topic came up this afternoon. I was having a conversation with a woman who lives in my town. Let's call her Allie. Allie told me that she's tried many different programs over the years, and like a lot of people, she's actually lost weight on many of those programs, but she's always gained it back, and then some, which I know sounds familiar to many of you. It's certainly familiar to me because I was a yo-yo dieter also many years ago. Allie asked me what kind of menu or diet I give to people in my program, which is a common question. And I understand why. When you've tried so many things and nothing has stuck, when you always end up regaining whatever weight you've lost, and maybe now it's becoming harder to lose the weight in the first place, it's normal to want someone to just tell you what to eat. You want the answer. You want the plan. You want a shortcut to the menu or diet going to finally flip the switch and make weight loss easier to achieve and maintain. Who doesn't want that? But here's what I told Allie and what I want to tell you today. I don't have a menu for you. And it's not because I'm being difficult or withholding information. It's because giving you a menu is probably the worst thing I could do for your long-term success. Let me explain why. As many of you know from prior episodes, there's plenty of evidence showing that there's not just one best diet for everyone to lose weight. But you might still be wondering what I recommend to people about what to eat. It's not that I don't make recommendations, I absolutely do. But I make my recommendations based on what someone is already eating today. Here's why. If you eat chicken most nights and I give you a menu that's completely devoid of chicken dinners, because my family happens to not be big on chicken, you can follow it for a month, maybe 2, but eventually, if chicken is what you're used to making for dinner, it's going to be hard to stick to a menu that contains no chicken, right? I find this to be true for just about any menu I might give you. When I was in my 20s, I lived near a fish market. Shout out to Dirk's Fish in Chicago, where Dirk and the people who worked for him taught me a ton about cooking fish every time I walked in the door and asked for suggestions on what to make for dinner. Now, after decades of cooking fish, that's my comfort zone. I really have minimal experience cooking chicken or other meat, but I can cook fish. Maybe you don't like fish, which is completely fine. No one needs to eat what I eat to lose weight or to be healthy. There are probably thousands of other things you could eat that would support your weight loss goals. My point is that I can be a lot more helpful to you if I see what you ate for dinner last week, and then we'll brainstorm some ideas for what we might tweak to drive your weight loss. Telling you to alternate between fish dinners and vegetarian dinners won't be helpful in the long run if you cook chicken 4 times a week and pork or red meat the remaining 3 nights, right? Here's the thing. You can lose weight while eating chicken and pork and red meat. We might look at increasing your vegetables, adding whole grains, or making the animal protein more of a side dish-sized portion for you. Or maybe we'll start by changing one dinner each week, like introducing meatless Mondays. Or maybe we'll add an afternoon snack, a small bowl of nuts in between lunch and dinner, so you're not overly hungry and therefore overeating at dinner time. But I'd only add that bowl of nuts if overeating at dinner is your particular issue. If you eat a light dinner, then a snack in the mid-afternoon may not be necessary at all, and in fact, might block your weight loss. Now, I know what some of you are thinking. This approach may feel a little lacking in direction. You're not being assigned a diet or given a menu to follow. And I get that that can feel uncomfortable when you're used to someone just telling you what to eat, or giving you a meal replacement, or a protein shake, or telling you how many grams of fat or carbs or protein to eat. It definitely takes a little more work up front to do it this way, but the good news is that upfront work happens when excitement and engagement is the highest, right in the beginning when you're committed to giving weight loss a try. Now is the time to dissect your current food intake and look for small, sustainable changes you can make. And then each week, add another change and add another change until over the course of time, you're eventually transforming what you're eating in a way that feels doable and sustainable for you. And of course, we'll start with the easy things first, because why wouldn't we do it that way? When you make dietary changes that aren't radical, but rather just minor modifications on what you're already doing, your progress might not be as fast, but it feels completely manageable, and you have the sense that you're always moving forward. Here's where the research gets really fun, because it turns out that this incremental approach, this idea of making small changes over time, isn't just something that sounds nice, it's actually supported by some really solid science. You've probably heard me quote a writer named James Clear, who wrote a book called Atomic Habits. It sold over 25 million copies. His whole premise is based on getting 1% better each day. He calls these tiny improvements atomic habits, and the research behind his work shows that small habits don't just add up, they compound, like compound interest in a bank account. Clear says something I really love. You don't rise to the level of your goals, you fall to the level of your systems. In other words, it's not about having the perfect plan. It's about building systems, building habits that you can actually sustain. And this is exactly what the research on dietary adherence shows us. Multiple studies have found that higher levels of adherence or sticking to a diet, regardless of the type of diet, is one of the most important factors in weight loss success over both the short and long term. Think about that for a second. It's not which diet you follow. It's whether you can actually stick to it. And familiarity helps with that. It's not just my opinion that we should find a way to make your own preferred diet work for you for weight loss. A systematic review looking at strategies to improve adherence to dietary weight loss interventions found that tailoring changes to a person's food preferences makes the diet more adaptable to their usual eating patterns and therefore more likely to be adhered to in the long term. Said more plainly, sorry, that might have been a little dense. The best diet for you is the one you'll actually keep following. And when we make changes based on the foods you already like and eat, you're able to stick with those changes forever, which is what it takes to lose weight and keep it off. I'm not looking for a drastically transformed menu plan that you can only follow for 30 or 45 days. I'm looking for you to find frequent small changes that you can make that are so aligned with your preferences that you find it pretty easy to keep going and going for years. Another study on personalized nutrition for weight loss maintenance found that when dietary plans were tailored to individual needs and context, participants had better adherence, which in turn helped them to keep the weight off. The European Association for the Study of Obesity actually recommends that macronutrient distribution, meaning what % of your food is made up of carbs, fats, and proteins, should be flexible to match a person's preferences in order to achieve long-term adherence. So, the science is clear. Personalization matters if you want to eat in a way that sticks. Meeting yourself where you are today and not making drastic changes all at one time matters too. Now, here's where the behavioral change research gets even more interesting. The concept of incremental change is well studied in psychology and in organizational development. Incremental change involves making small, manageable adjustments over time, building on what already exists. This contrasts with the research on radical change, which involves a complete overhaul. And while radical change can sometimes produce faster results, it's much harder to sustain. Research shows that incremental changes typically require less effort because you're asking yourself to take a smaller step from what you already know and are comfortable with. Think about it this way. If I told you tomorrow that you needed to completely overhaul your entire way of eating, eliminate all your favorite foods, and start cooking things you've never made before, how long would you realistically stick with that? A week? 2? Maybe a month? But instead, if I said, hey, this week, let's just add 1 extra serving of vegetables to your dinner. That feels doable, right? If that sounds challenging, then we can brainstorm ways to simplify it. Maybe you're just going to rinse off some baby carrots and boom, you've got a second vegetable. Or maybe you'll warm up some frozen peas in your microwave. Remember, I said we're going to start with the easy changes first. Maybe eventually you'll roast some cauliflower with extra virgin olive oil, salt, and pepper as your second vegetable. But for now, don't make it harder than it has to be. Just getting any second serving of vegetables on your plate is a win. Let's say you're making your dinner and you realize you forgot to plan your second vegetable. No sweat, reset. Just have extra of the vegetable you're already making, and you'll get right back to your 2 vegetable dinners tomorrow. This is real life, and we have to be kind to ourselves and flexible above all. And then next week, after you're in your groove with eating 2 vegetables with every dinner, maybe our next action will be to swap out your afternoon chocolate for a piece of fruit and a handful of nuts. And the week after that, maybe we'll look at portion sizes at dinner and see if there's room to make some adjustments there. Each of these small changes is manageable, and I doubt they would feel overwhelming. But over the course of months, these small changes compound into significant transformation. One more piece of research I want to share with you. A study looking at dietary tracking and weight loss found that people who consistently tracked their food intake 5 or more days a week were successful in losing and sustaining weight loss over the course of a year. But it wasn't just about tracking, it was about consistency. The consistent trackers didn't experience the typical holiday weight gain that other people did. They maintained steady weight loss throughout the year. Why? Because they had built a system, a habit. They weren't relying on motivation or willpower. They were relying on a routine that had become part of who they were. So let's bring this back to Allie and to you. When you come to me looking for a menu, what you're really looking for is certainty. You want to know that if you follow this plan, you'll get the result you want. And I completely understand that. But here's what I know after years of doing this work. The menu approach doesn't create lasting change. It creates temporary compliance. And when the compliance ends because life gets busy or you get tired of the food or you go on vacation or the holidays come, the weight comes back. The incremental approach, the one that starts with where you are right now and builds from there, that's what creates lasting change. Because you're not following my menu, you're building your own system. In my online program, I call this your protocol. You're building your own system or protocol that fits your life, your preferences, your schedule, and your family. Before we continue, let's take a quick break to hear a word from our sponsor. Just kidding. It's still me, Dr. Lisa Olson, physician and founder of Smart Weight Loss Coaching. If you're as focused on your health as you are on the scale, you're my person. In my online program, we'll help you establish healthy habits for weight loss, better health, and longevity. If you'd like to learn more about our affordable monthly membership, head over to smartweightlosscoaching.com. We would love to help you transform the way you approach weight loss so it takes up less brain space and frees up your time for other things you love to do. Join us to see how different a smart weight loss program can be. And we're back. So what does this losing weight without an instruction manual or diet actually look like in practice? Here's what I do when someone comes to me wanting to lose weight. I ask them to show me what they ate this week. Just this week. Not what they think they should be eating, not what they ate on their best week ever, what they actually ate and drank. And then we look at it together. We look for the low-hanging fruit, the easy wins. Maybe you're drinking 2 sodas a day and we can swap those out for sparkling water with a splash of juice. Maybe you're skipping breakfast and then overeating at lunch. Maybe your dinners are fine, but you're eating a whole bag of chips while you watch TV every night. We find 1 or 2 things that feel manageable to change. Not overwhelming, not impossible. Just 1 or 2 achievable things. And then I invite you to do those things for a week or 2 until they start to feel normal and easy. Until they start to feel like, this is just what I do. And then we add another change and another and another. Some weeks the changes are about food choices. Some weeks they're about portions. Some weeks they're about timing of food. Some weeks they're about planning or preparation. Every single change builds on the last one. Every single change is something you can manage. And over time, the accumulation of all these small changes transforms not just what you eat, but how you think about food, how you plan, how you shop, how you cook, and hopefully how you think about your body and the scale too. You become someone who makes healthy choices, not because you're following a menu, but because you've built a system that works for you. Is this slower than following some restrictive diet plan? Maybe in the short term, but you know what's even slower? Losing the same 20 pounds over and over again for the rest of your life because you keep following plans that you can't sustain. The research backs this up. Incremental change is more sustainable. Personalized approaches lead to better adherence. And adherence, sticking to your new way of eating, is what predicts long-term success. So when Allie asked me for a menu, I told her what I'm telling you right now. I don't have a menu for you. What I have is a process, a way of working together to build your sustainable approach to eating, one that fits your life, one that you can maintain, and one that turns you into the kind of person who makes healthy choices, not because you're following rules, but because that's who you are. You might be thinking you need to work one-on-one with me to get this kind of help, but you really don't. You can do this in my monthly membership program, but if you don't want to do that, which why wouldn't you? But anyway, if you don't want to do it in the context of a program, you could do this on your own too. It's easier with guidance and support, but I really believe this approach is the right one, whether you're working on losing weight on your own, with a specialist, or in the context of a program. Now, it's time for your NBA, your next best action. I want you to do what I would ask Allie to do. Look at what you ate this week. Really look at it, not with judgment, just with curiosity. And see if you can find one thing that you could change that would be both healthier and sustainable for you. Not the biggest change, not the perfect change, just one small change that feels doable. Maybe it's adding a vegetable to your lunches. Maybe it's swapping one snack for something healthier between meals. Maybe it's drinking water instead of something you suspect is not helping your weight. Maybe it's eating breakfast or skipping breakfast. Maybe it's using a smaller plate at dinner. Just pick one thing. Write it down, be specific, and then practice that thing over the next week. That's it. That's your NBA. One small change, one step toward building your sustainable protocol. Because you don't need my menu, you need your own approach, and I believe in your ability to create it. And if you'd like some help, you know where to find me. You've got this. Thanks so much for listening. If you'd like more support during your smart weight loss journey, check out our group coaching program at smartweightlosscoaching.com. Until next time, stay well and stay smart.